just need a clicker.
We are ready to begin. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. It's almost evening, so I appreciate everyone being here for our budget workshop tonight. I had a lot on my mind this week, so I went ahead and typed all my responses up to make sure that I said what I needed to say. I didn't want to get home and go, dang it, I meant to bring up. So you'll see me reading from my notes a lot. While this is a workshop and not a formal meeting under Robert's rules, I'd like to take a moment to set a few expectations to help guide our time together. First, let's be mindful not to talk over each other. We are each one voice of 7, and we each bring a different perspective, and every voice matters. We may not always agree, and that's okay. Healthy discussion is part of the process, but once a discussion is made, or a decision, is made by the majority, I ask, this is just my personal, that we move forward together, not leaving here frustrated or divided because things didn't go our individual ways. Our administration, our staff, the community, they take cues from us. And they feel the tone that we set when we are with each other. When decisions are shared publicly, it's not about individual votes. It's simply the board made the decision. So regardless of the outcomes today, we move forward as one band, one sound. What may seem minor to one person may be important to someone else. So I simply ask that we remain respectful and thoughtful throughout our discussions. Our goal today is to make sure everyone has the opportunity to ask questions and gain the clarity that's needed to make informed decisions we can reach together. As we move into the budget overview, I do want to acknowledge a few areas that may bring up some tough discussions. The potential high school schedule change from block to 8. Our new board members, I understand it can be challenging coming in the tail end of prior discussions and decisions. Please feel free to ask questions so that you can obtain your clarity. For those present in the audience and those listening, just a bit of context. The board charged the superintendent with the identifying cost savings across the board, large or small, even down to paper clips and pushing and cutting the grass, in order to prioritize raises for our teachers and staff. What you're here today are the same recommendations for considerations. Nothing is final. Dr. P has followed exactly what was directed of him to do, which is to bring every item, no matter what it is, including such things as the 245, the 240, etc., anything that would save $1 to us to be considered. But again, nothing is final until the board takes a vote. Lastly, while this is not a formal public comment session, if anyone is present and has a very brief comment, especially one that includes a recommendation or a solution, we are here to hear that. You may raise your hand and I will acknowledge you, and instead of bringing you the mic, Mr. Brown is sitting there. So, it's one next to you. You'll come up to the mic, and please make sure that you're speaking to the mic so those that are online can hear. This is very important. Please keep in mind that this is not a debate session, but an opportunity for the board to gather information and provide the superintendent with clear directions. We don't want to leave here today and him not know exactly, clearly, how the board feels and the direction he needs to go in. Thank you in advance. Let's get this party started. Mr. Brown.
Go ahead, Mr. Brown. Okay. Just to bring the new board members up to speed, and as a reminder to the board members that have seen the many versions of this list before, the list was much larger in the beginning, and it was divided into 3 buckets, if you all recall, bucket 1, 2, and 3, with bucket 1 being the least impactful on staffing and benefits, and bucket 2 was the next level. It wasn't highly impactful, like losing positions or something like that. And then bucket 3. And through many discussions with the board, we took things off the list, we whittled it down to this one final list that we were directed to consolidate those 3 buckets down to one list. So this is the remaining items that were devised and made the final list. And so what we've done here is we've went through, and I've color-coded for the sake of today's conversation, the items on the list that are still available for implementation in fiscal year 27, this upcoming year. And then the items in color, those are items color-coded in green. So you'll see that this list has taken on sort of a new coding system. The green are the 4 items we believe are still in play for fiscal year 27. And the items in yellow are items that can be discussed for implementation in fiscal year 28. And, you know, we have employee contracts going out this week. And so some of the items that are in the yellow are just simply beyond implementation for the current fiscal, the next fiscal year, 27. So with that being said, we could look at the first item on the list was the COE and North Little Rock High School. We had originally discussed reducing the prep time from 400 minutes to 200 minutes for staff, and we had had a planning session with district leadership and our Cardonics rep. Cardonics is a software that we subscribe to for efficient student-centered scheduling needs. And through an audit with our Cardonics rep and analyzing what would happen if we went from our current block system to an 8-period day instructional system, we determined that we could, of course, teachers would teach 7 sections a day, up from 6 sections a day. So if every staff member had an additional section, that would obviously create opportunities in scheduling to be more efficient with staffing. And we've determined that there were up to 20 FTEs with that additional period of instruction for every staff member that we could make our staffing more efficient. So that calculation using, and it's a conservative calculation of 1.3 million. And the reason it's a conservative one is because we didn't use 100% of the FTEs. The audit said that we could save. And we also used $50,000 as the salary of the position that we would absorb. So we used 2 conservative values in determining that 1.3. It very well could be more, depending on the number of positions we're able to absorb and depending on the salary of the vacancy that we do absorb. So that's item number 1.
But
Let's-
President, you want to just discuss
go-
each one so we can
Go
just
over
get some
the
clarity
whole thing
Okay.
first, and then we can go back.
Okay.
to number 1?
Yeah.
Okay. Item number 2 was the outsourcing of custodial services. And again, for the new board members, this item was considered by the board in February, and the board voted not to outsource custodial services. After that meeting, Finance received direction to issue a formal RFP process for outsourcing custodians. So we did that, and if you click the link in item number 2, it will take you through the process that we used. And I'll walk you through that process. We did advertise in the Democrat Gazette on February the 22nd and the 25th the RFP notice. And there was a link there where you could actually read the letter that we sent to the Democrat and the actual advertisement that went in the paper. We received responses from 12 companies that said they were interested in the service. We scheduled a facility walkthrough, and we walked the 3 largest district school sites. So we started with the high school, and that was on February the 27th. We walked the high school, then we traveled to the middle school, walked the middle school, both 7th and 8th grade and 6th grade campuses. We also traveled to Ridge Road. We walked Ridge Road. The companies that participated in that walkthrough, it was not required for them to bid, but the ones that participated were there. They gained a lot of knowledge in that process. The deadline for submitting those responses was March 3rd. We had 4 companies that submitted responses. That was ABM, EJS Cleaning Service, Statewide Commercial Cleaning, and HES Facilities Management. We made sure that the responses to our RFP included the information that we requested. We reviewed the RFPs. We took the 2 top companies that responded, which was ABM, HES. We conducted interviews with those 2 top companies with a panel. I've linked in the interview results for you to review. And the interview results were ABM had a 4.89 and HES had a 4.73. So after we conducted those interviews, we came back with the recommendation that ABM be considered as the company for outsourcing. They had the highest interview score, and they also had the lowest proposed district cost, which would maximize district savings. Oops, I'm navigating, I guess, to the wrong side here. Sorry.
Can you tell us the difference in the colors for the new board members, as far as?
Yes, the green versus the yellow.
Yeah.
So the green, I've got a little key at the top. So the green is for items we feel are still in play, the administration feels can be implemented in fiscal year 27. The other items, yellow, would be for implementation in fiscal year 28. Though the items that are highlighted in 27 so that would require a lot of salary schedule changes, and we have a lot of them, and it would also require reissuing contracts to employees. And if we do that, that negates the purpose of us getting contracts out early and locking people in with their contract. If you reissue them, you reopen the opportunity for employees to not have a contract with us. So we just feel like that the time has passed for fiscal year 27 implementation on the yellow items.
So we're just focusing on the fiscal year 20, the green
Yes.
tonight. Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Right, due to the time, all the other ones, even if you wanted to consider it, the time has
Got it.
passed.
Got it.
Okay, the third item was eliminate tuition reimbursement. That would just simply be a policy change. Our policy says that we'll invest in tuition reimbursement for employees the amount that is equivalent to the starting salary of our licensed teacher salary schedule, which is $50,000. And the fourth item would be eliminate longevity payments. Now, while that would be a fiscal year 27 implementation, that would go into effect July 1 of 2027. Normally, longevity payments happen at the end of a calendar year, so that would actually be, it would go into effect July 1, 2027, but we would see most of the savings happen in May and June of 2028, the end of the fiscal year. The longevity policy, it just says employees who are retiring with Arkansas teacher retirement, who have 15 years of in-district experience, would receive a one-time longevity payment in the amount of $150 per year, and that's $150 per year of in-district experience. So that's the longevity policy. Those are the four items that we have, and be glad to participate in discussion or answer questions as.
Let's start with the first one, which is, which is the scheduling. So I'm gonna do my little 2 cents and then hear from the other 6. As we discuss potential schedule changes, I want to be clear about how I'm approaching the decision. First, to remind the public and the new members, this item is actually a day-to-day operational item. However, Dr. P values our thoughts and recommendations as to the reason why we're discussing it. I fully understand the need to identify funding to support raises for our teachers and staff. If resources were unlimited, this would not be a discussion, but we would know that we know what reality is, and that's why we're discussing it. At the same time, I, Rochelle, I'm only one voice of 7, have to keep in mind the forefront of the commitment that I made to the North Florida School District that we will prepare all students for their future by offering a well-rounded, rigorous, relevant, and innovative education that allows each child to achieve their full potential in a safe and supportive learning environment. With that in mind, I have concerns about moving from a block schedule to an 8-period schedule. In my opinion, this shift may limit our ability to fully support student readiness and success. The current structure of our building presents challenges when it comes to transition time, which could reduce instructional quality. Additionally, many of our academy courses were designed with block scheduling in mind. I am also concerned about the logistics. We just signed a partnership with UAPTC, specifically whether students can they realistically travel, attend, and return from classes with a shortened period while still receiving meaningful instruction. I'm also concerned about AP students taking 2 and 3 AP classes every day and being successful. Now, I am open to revisiting flex time. We can get rid of that. But I really feel block scheduling helps prepare our students for the college level. While I recognize the potential cost savings, I do not believe moving forward at this time, maybe we can revisit it next year. We just did a reorganization at the middle school. We've done a lot of reorganizing. I just feel like eliminating flex at least, but keeping block scheduling is the way to go for right now. That's just my opinion. Anybody else?
I just feel like this is something we probably should discuss a little more, because everything you said is true, and I don't want to see something rushed that makes a bad situation worse. However, there is something to be said. The kids that are going to college, they're going to make it no matter what. I mean, they're just going to make it. But there's a lot of kids who 90 minutes is too much in a classroom. It's just too much. If you're only seeing that teacher a couple times a week and you miss a class, you're really behind. And some of these kids would really benefit from sitting down with the teacher every single day for shorter periods of time to learn that math, to learn that English, to learn those things they need to learn. And so the kids that are struggling, I think, would benefit most from the change. I understand the ones that are speaking up loudly, they don't want the change. I understand why they don't. They're on their game, they're working, they're doing extra activities. It works really well for them. And I don't want to ignore what they're saying, but I don't want to overlook the benefits to the kids that really need the service the most. So I don't feel like it's been discussed as fully as it should be. And again, you said it was an operational decision, and I believe you recommended that, and I believe you recommended it. So I'd like to hear what, there's a reason it was recommended. I know we started looking at it because of the
Money.
the money. But, there's some benefits there that I think we're overlooking. So that,
Sure. I'll be happy to jump in. Go ahead. Yep.
Come to the
I'll
mic.
jump in after. We'll give Dr. St. Louis a chance to speak.
Good evening. They asked me to come tonight, so I didn't come just on my own. But I wanted to just make 2 points of clarity. Mr. Brown had made a comment that the students have 6 classes a day. Right now, students take 4 classes a day with teachers teaching 3. I also wanted to make a point that an 8-period schedule was never recommended by myself as the building principal. So I just shared the recommendations before the board, but an 8-period day is not something that me as the building principal has recommended nor stood by. We're going to do what's asked of us to do, but that's not what the principal has stated. So I just wanted to put that clarification there.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here. Give me 1 second to this powered down.
While you're pulling that up, I just have a clarifying question overall. So as we consider these decisions, can you help me understand, what is the financial standing of the district? Are these decisions necessary for us to be financially stable? Or what's the goal with these cuts?
So, and I probably should have led with that. We are financially stable.
Okay.
We have a salary schedule in place that we budget for annually. The superintendent and the board in the past have expressed an interest in investing more money in teacher salaries.
Okay.
So while we are financially stable, we do not have excess funding in our budget to fund. And what we were charged with was looking for funding as high as a starting salary of $55,000,
Okay.
which would cost the district $4 million to implement.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, so while we are financially stable, we do not have $4 million excess in our budget to invest in the teacher salary.
Got it.
We are looking for cost savings in order to invest in teacher salary or payments. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
So I'll be happy to jump in regarding the high school schedule.
I'm sorry.
Somebody's
Was,
got their
think it's-
microphone on.
Ms. Barker, were you
Ms.
trying to say
Barker.
something?
Yes, Madam President, thank you. I'm sorry. First of all, let me acknowledge why I'm not present. I had a free engagement and tried to reschedule it, but was unable to. But I am here, and I've been here since the beginning of the call. So some of the questions that I had, I just heard. What are we solving for? And one of the things that stands out also when we talk about the schedule. Yeah, I'm just curious because we're talking about our number one stakeholders, and that's our students. I know we're looking at trying to save and, you know, those different things, but I think sometimes the savings and the ones on which we're in business for, that kind of concerns. So my question is, have we even talked to the students? Because it's easy for leaders to sit around and discuss what should be, how it should be, what they'll think, and how they'll feel. But many times in big decisions like this, I think we ought to involve. Those are young adults and have great minds, and I believe really could give some sound input. But as it relates to I remember being a North Little Rock student, and we had 7 classes. So I know nothing other than that. But as a parent raising a student, I remember the block schedule, which allowed her to be able to process, prepare for the next day, be involved in extracurricular activities, and not be so overwhelmed. And then our second stakeholders, the parents, you know, I wasn't overwhelmed with that she couldn't do certain things because of this. So I just wanted to add that. I understand, well, I listened for the reason behind why we went to the students in that area first, because I do recall, you know, as being a employee at one time of North Little Rock, that, you know, we don't want to touch the classroom unless we just have to touch the classroom. So I don't know if we had to have to, but I heard Mr. Brown say we were not in a financial situation where, you know, I would think we were at a have to. So I really would
true.
kind of
That's
echo
true.
some of the things I've heard. You know, as a, you know, I know we're new board members, but I've seen the documents and I'm following the color code and all of that stuff. But some things is just not new to, and that's truly to what our mission says, ensuring that all students have an opportunity to learn. So I'm not really seeing the difference just yet, what the block would do versus the long time. But, you know, as I said, I do see how it could benefit, especially those rigorous classes that, you know, we're trying to work towards to build us out of the academic grade that we're in. And I'm not sure if changes this large would, you know, be heavy on people's mind or even our students, because that's who I'm thinking first. Students are my first priority. And I just really think sometimes we need to have like town halls with our students, just to hear their voices and afford them the opportunity to speak about something we're trying to decide that would affect their long-term academic learning. And again, thank you for allowing me to come in on the Zoom.
Sure, and make sure that I don't forget you. You buzz in some kind of way so that when you're needing to say something, I don't forget that you're here.
Yes, ma'am. I won't let you forget.
So, yes, Madam President, members of our board, the first of all is, and this is what the direction that I'm going to need by the time we leave here today. And if the board says, hey, Dr. P, we want you to stop, we don't want you to move, we want you to keep the block schedule right now, it's not good timing, we want you to study it, do a program review, come back in the fall. We've been here before where we're very late in the season. And if that is your direction to me, all you got to do is tell us that, and we'll go to work on that of putting the kind of the freeze on it and continue. As Ms. Barker says, this is not a must, but what we were charged with was the number one priority. If you remember last year, we were in a $5.1 million deficit. Little Rock is in a $16 million deficit. We're not there. So to answer your question, Ms. Scott, as well, is the looking at the additional areas for saving was to try to get to compensation. And when I look at this item, my first priority is actually not money. My first priority is outcomes for children. So what I want to share with you is my sense of urgency around outcomes for kids and being the advocate that we've got to do a better job of improving outcomes for kids. And here's why. So if you look at last year's summative data in 24-25, Algebra 1 had 91% of the students that were below proficiency. Geometry had 94% of students that were below proficiency. 9th grade English, 79% of the students were below proficiency. 10th grade English, 83% of students were below proficiency. Biology, 86%. The last board meeting, March 19th, the winter interim data for the high school and the COE was shared with you. Algebra 1, 88% of students are below proficiency. Geometry, 92% of students are below proficiency. Biology, 77% of students are below proficiency. English 9, 81% of students are below proficiency. In ELA 10, 76% students are below proficiency. COE, winter interim data, algebra, 78 students are below proficiency. Geometry, 94% of students are below proficiency. Biology, 57% of students are below proficiency. ELA 9, 52% are below proficiency. And in ELA 10, 66% of students are below proficiency. The current graduation rate is at 76%. That is 10% below the national average of high school graduation in this country. We all know the current letter grade. That's an F. My question is, are we using our resources and our time effectively to change outcomes for children? So it doesn't matter to me if you look at the research of Bob Marzano, longtime educational researcher, John Hattie, Bob Marzano, the research is clear. Effective planning is directly linked to enhanced instructional delivery, fostering high student engagement, and improve student outcomes. Research shows that well-planned lessons allow for better classroom management, confident delivery, and effective time use, ensuring instructional tasks and align with student needs. The discussion around, yes, there's 90 minutes, or roughly 82, 83, but roughly in our high school, there's 400 minutes of instructional planning a week. That's 200 minutes above the state minimum. Our state minimum, our elementary teachers have 200 minutes a week, and our middle schools have 200 minutes per week. My concern is, are we using our instructional planning time effectively? We also had early release for a period of time. That was more additional instructional planning time. Flex period. I've asked this question. Are we getting the bang for the buck on flex? Is it working? So, we have 43 staff members that are not assigned to a flex period. That means they get an additional 45 minutes. That's 628 minutes for those 43 individuals in an entire week. We currently have, and it was stated that all of those individuals, they are PLC leads. As I've looked at the data, I know we've got 2 coaches that don't have flex period. I know they're not PLC leads. Here's another concern. We have 578 classes that have students in them less than 10. At the COE, we have 125 classes that have less than 10 students. My concern, and will continue to be my concern, is, are we using our resources effectively and efficiently to our bottom line? And I'll tell you, and I appreciate Ms. Barker saying, have you listened to parents? In fact, last night we had a great open house at the middle school, both the 6th and 7th grade. And I had a parent come up to me and said, Dr. Paluski, can I talk to you? My child's leaving your school district. And I said, why? Because the level of teaching at the high school is not where it needs to be for my daughter. In fact, my daughter, my other daughter, who's at the University of Fayetteville, right now is struggling as a freshman because she's not prepared for college level work. Those aren't my words. Those are from a constituent of our parents. And you've certainly heard that before. So my take at this is about outcomes for kids. And when I look at the data and I see those high number of kids that are not proficient, I am concerned. I'm raising the level of urgency and its concern. So it goes back to that, to me, of, are we using people? Are we using our time effectively in order to change outcomes for students? Regardless of what the direction is, and we're going to do exactly what you asked me to do. If we come back and we'll study that again for the following year, happy to do that. But I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't advocate for a sense of urgency based on these outcomes that I see before me. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
For the new board members, I'm the co-chair, Ms. Hughes. I just wanted to add something and some context to high school. We deal with a different level of student that have different problems. And I also wanted you all to know we have a lot of students at our school that get counseling, and they're pulled out of classes. If we pull them out of a 40-minute or 50-minute class, they have missed the majority of those classes. I know for me, I pull students out a lot, and I try to get them back within 15, 20 minutes. By the time, if we do that, go to an 8 schedule, then they've missed a lot of instruction time. I hear you, Dr. P, but I just want you to understand from a high school perspective, and we do have students, I know Ms. Barker asked about students, we do have students that have been voicing their opinion at the high school, but I definitely wanted you all to understand that we do have a lot of students, I mean a lot of students that are pulled out for counseling services and other services as well, and that could impact what happens in that classroom as well.
I got a question before you go.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
don't understand. I need you to explain to me how missing 40 minutes of a 90-minute period is any different than missing where the next day they're back on track. They're not waiting 2 days. I don't see, if you're pulling out, you're missing.
Oh,
And
and
I-
I agree with you.
And I don't understand the argument there.
My argument, and I'm not a teacher, I'm just a rap specialist, and I hate to say just a rap, but I know it's a lot easier for and just also full disclosure, I went to a private school in California where we did block schedule, and that was way back in the day. So I have done block schedule. I also, speaking personally, think it's easier for a student that doesn't have to stress to go back to that next class the next day to try to get work done. I want you all to understand we have a lot of students that do not have internet at home. So when you're asking them to get that work done the next day, a flex period when they're still on the school campus can help them get that work done. There's much more variables that deal with a lot of our students, and I hear your numbers, Dr. P, and I definitely hear what you're saying, but a lot of the things that go into testing, and I always say that even with the state, we don't look at the other variables that our students in our district are dealing with. They don't have really stable housing. I have one student I've been working with this year that didn't have internet all year long because they had been in and out of hotels all year long. So, Ms. Temple, I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I'm saying when I'm pulling a student out for 15 or 20 minutes, it's easier for them to go back into a 90-minute class and catch back up instead of missing and coming back and they only have 30 minutes left in the class. And also, with all those transitions, getting kids in class from a security perspective as well is going to be tough because by the time you get the roll taken, we're already 35 minutes into the class period. So that's just Ms. Hughes' opinion. It's not CPPC opinion. That's just Ms. Hughes' opinion.
Thank you for that, Ms. Hughes. Ms. Hughes, I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
There's a lot of talk about flex.
Yes.
Would flex not be a better avenue to pull a child? I mean, that's kind of what it's designed for, right? I mean, if that period, which is flexible to give that child what they need so they're not missing core instruction is...
I pull most of my students during flex. I do. However, as I mentioned, we have probably, I'm saying no less than 5 therapy people that come on our campus. Those sessions could be 45 minutes. So they can't pull every student during flex, and a lot of them have high caseloads, so they're not going to be able to see every kid during flex. I try to pull during flex, unless it's something that a teacher has said, hey, can you get this child, this is what's going on. Most of the time, I do pull during flex, but I can't say that if we're outsourced for some of our therapy people that come in, flex, they can't just pull during flex, because one flex period, they're probably with that one student if we go to the way that schedule
and I
is.
understand certainly the amount. Are school counselors seeing kids on a regular basis?
Yes, because especially we're doing interventions, sir. So our interventions, even after our interventions, we're still having to go back and meet with some of the students. So our counselors are meeting with students on a regular basis.
Sure.
Madam President,
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
my recommendation would be to keep the block program and look at different things that we can do now, like use flex more, or just other avenues, and then see if we're making an impact on that, instead of saying we're gonna change it all and we're gonna see what's gonna happen. There's a lot of change going on. There's reorganization. My kids went through block program as well. And, but when I went, I did go through the 7 period. But the block program, like you said, gave students who don't have accessibility to internet or to different things to go to the library, to do different things, to try to compensate where they fall short. But like you, and I didn't realize that we had so many teachers that didn't do flex, or we had coaches that didn't do flex. Sounds like we have a lot of opportunities with those teachers as well that could help us now do things that not being done. I don't know if you could put them in the, tutoring or whatever, but it sounds like we have a lot of opportunities where we have people who are certified, people who are teachers that could really impact the performance of our students.
I wanted to hear why you recommended that.
Superintendent Paluski, members of the president, members of the board, the recommendation came after we met with Cardonics. It wasn't just anything I was just married to. We were charged with finding funds to reallocate for teacher raises. And it was discovered that the extra planning time in the high school, if it were not there, we could save approximately $1.3 million. To do this, we would have to change from a block schedule to a 7-period day or an 8-period day. Being the direct assistant superintendent for the high school and COE, certainly I have seen lots of things this year that have raised my eyebrows as it relates to teachers not doing flex, students not going to flex, teachers not monitoring halls, doing transitions, major accountability issues in many areas. So we're not married to a 7-period day, 8-period day, or block. I don't think there's a perfect schedule one could use in a high school because their students are so different and they have so many different needs. I do think what we're going to have to do, and certainly I'll follow the lead of my superintendent, who's my direct supervisor, we're going to have to get very clear as we move with the next administrators coming into the high school about what the expectations are regardless of the block. If we're going to have a A-B block, then the teachers are going to have to teach bell to bell. And that means they have to be trained how to teach 90 minutes. You have to train teachers how to teach a 90-minute block opposed to teaching 45 or 50 minutes. Of course, it sounds good. I can't imagine any teacher coming to this board and openly saying, yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of my extra planning time. That's probably not going to happen. But when you think about the equity in it, what we do for elementary teachers, what we do for middle school teachers, it's openly unfair. It doesn't look good. So, but if we want to stick with it, we're going to get crystal clear on what the expectations are, whether we use a 7-period day, 8-period day, or block. We've heard a lot about flex, and this is nothing that they have not heard me say at the high school. Flex is an open free-for-all. When I first saw it, I had never seen anything like it. And I've been in education a long time. I had never seen anything like it. And there were administrators, there were grown adults all over the building, and nobody told kids, go to flex or not go to flex. Kids walk the halls freely. So we're going to get very clear about what the expectations are, because I think what we're all married to in this space, our kids deserve more. When we have a high school graduation rate that's 10 points below the national average, I think we need to also think about how many kids are we really graduating on a block schedule that's ready for college. And when we start looking at ACT scores and things like that, the numbers just don't add up. So we're okay with doing whatever you all want us to do, and we will move in that lane, obviously, because we'll follow the lead of my superintendent, what he tells me to do. But we're going to get very clear. It won't be business as usual, even if we do a block schedule. They're going to teach a block time, and I would like to prepare you. That means that there could be some people come back to the board, and they won't be happy because it's not going to be the same.
Can I ask one more?
yeah,
One more question. So we can't reduce prep time if we stay on a block schedule. Is that what you're saying? It's not possible to.
We got to meet the 200 minimum requirement of the week. So that might cause a problem if you're A day, B day. You're not going to meet that. You could not meet that minimum 200-minute requirement by the law that has to be no more than in 45-minute segments. But I know there might be more discussion. But right now it sounds like you want us to just hold tight.
We got two board members that hadn't spoke yet.
Okay.
Okay, if I may. I did prepare some remarks because I've had lots of conversations and phone calls this week, as I'm sure many others have. But before I share, can we go back? Because I do appreciate that there's lots of challenges that we face as a district. And growing enrollment is one thing that came to mind for me as well, Dr. Paluski, as you talk about the challenges that we've faced with enrollment, graduation rates, college preparation, all these things. But tonight we're here to talk about finding money for raises, correct? So what is the proposed, the $4 million would allow what raise for teachers?
$4 million would allow a $55,000 minimum starting payment.
And so how many
Minimum
people
starting
are currently under the $55,000 a year?
Our minimum teacher salary, our starting teacher salary is $50,000.
Okay,
So what we would do, if we were to raise the starting teacher salary to 55,
yep,
that would essentially add a $5,000 increase to every box.
Hold on one second.
That was the original discussion.
That
but
was the
that's
original
not what
discussion.
yes.
Correct. So, and with that original discussion, as we met with the state school board and all of that, there is, I don't believe there's an appetite for a traditional raise in the sense like we've always done it, which is we're going to get, and that scenario would be $5,000 to everybody's base salary. And so whatever we come up with, if we come up with something or we come up with nothing, the conversation's going to have to shift to performance. So in order to get that $5,000, you've got to earn and change student outcomes in order to get that. And that's what we talk about. We've looked at some models where it's your evaluation, it's the letter grade, and it's growth in those specific buckets as an example.
okay. So one of my pieces of information that I would like to have before making decisions is clarity on what the raises would look like that we're trying to find the money to fund. But
that scenario has changed
Right.
and morphed between Dr. Paluski's original desire to raise the starting teacher salary and the guidance and direction that we have heard from the State Board of Education
right,
and Arkansas Department of Ed. So that has changed from a across-the-board increase for every teacher to a performance-based, a performance-based payment that you could earn based on the student outcome data.
okay,
And let me just add to that. So if you just look at these green buckets right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's $1.880 million. That's all we got to play with at the moment if the board would choose to do that. Then it's going to come up to the board to say, traditionally our board has said, we're going to take that and we're going to give it to everybody. We're going to give classified and licensed. And you can do that. Or you can say we're going to use a portion of that to invest in teacher salaries, and then this portion to go to classified.
Yeah. And maybe, if I may, just share what I had prepared, because I think it'll make more sense as we get to know each other and work together to make these decisions for our district. But I want to start by grounding how I've approached this decision. So from my perspective, gone are the days where we charge you with finding solutions without clarifying and responding to the community engagement. It's often framed as if people will be mad and that folks are never going to be happy, but I would like to suggest a reframe. It's possible that we as a district would make higher quality decisions if we listen to the voices of our building and strategically leverage their point of view to shape better outcomes for our students. Because y'all know this, but I'm coming to learn it. We have a very engaged community. Over the past week, building upon last week's public comments, I have received an insane volume of feedback that I have been trying to compile, most of which has been through email, so I can share that. But from many different people, and I want to be specific, one group has been the students, to Ms. Barker's point. So that student voice, there were 581 students who organized this week alone, 191 of which were freshmen, 187 sophomores, 155 juniors, and even 48 seniors organized to sign a petition stating that they do not want to move to an 8-period day, with very clear explanation of why it is negative. And I'll share this with you, the petition that they put together that was dropped off with me at 2 o'clock this afternoon. So why does this matter? For me, I've reviewed all of this input, all of the emails and phone calls, and there's some themes that have emerged. The first, like we've talked about tonight, is the capacity and time. Students have questions about the load. I know there's lots of questions being asked tonight about prep time for teachers, but there's a real question of whether or not teachers can realistically support students under this model. So, Dr. Paluski, I don't know, I'm new to curriculum and instructional planning time, but I think that there's a decent amount of concern that this model will negatively impact teachers' ability to support students. Second is the student impact, which is that there's concerns about safety and the interventions that they'd like to receive, increasing the amount of time that they change classes, and whether or not this works in practice with a building like our high school. The third is compensation and retention. So the consistent message has been that this is not being experienced as a raise. So if our goal is to provide a raise to teachers, that's not what this feels like, but it feels like a trade-off or a reduction because benefits are changing and their working conditions are shifting. And fourth is the trust in this process. So there's lots of questions about the accuracy of the data, clarity about how these decisions are being made, and if people are being engaged in the process or if it's just been happening to them. And I want to be clear because y'all know I'm just trying to find my footing. This is not about any one specific proposal. It's about how we are making decisions. Because when I reviewed the materials, what stood out to me is we have lots of options, but we do not have a strategy. We're being asked to react to a list of cuts without being given the full logic behind them. We don't have a clear definition of the problem we're going after, like what the raises will look like. We don't have a shared understanding as a board of what success will look like. And I'd like to have a framework of figuring out what will we protect, like what do we agree is non-negotiable versus what we can reduce, and a clear picture too of the student and staff impact, which is not reflected in my opinion. And I'm sorry, I know I'm being long-winded, but y'all know this is a big deal. There's been lots going on around this topic this week and for the past year apparently. But I keep going back to something that we heard while we were in training this week, this idea that these are our students, our schools, and our money. And it's not just about reacting to this proposal. To me, it's about taking collective ownership both of the decisions and how the process works behind them. So before we move into selecting specific reductions, I think we need better alignment as a board. And I would like to establish a clear development timeline for a budget and understand how it gets reviewed and how those decisions get made. And most importantly, clear communication and feedback loops between the community, because they have stated that there has been lots of concern brought up early on, and there's still lots of things that are unaddressed. And one thing that really does matter to me personally, as I am incredibly overwhelmed, is how we do this together. So I know these decisions are hard, and I know that we have to be able to ask the hard questions and challenge assumptions, and that requires trust and some shared expectations. So to make it concrete, I think we need a lot more information before we can make these decisions. I think we need better principles to guide these decisions, and I would like to not react to these cuts tonight, but to strengthen how we make financial decisions as a board so that we can be more transparent, strategic, and centered on student outcomes. Sorry for the rant, but thank you.
We have, hold on just a second, Ms. Barker. We have 2 board members that haven't spoke yet. And Ms. Stumpinghouse, did you have something about what was just said? Well, I would actually like to. Can you?
So I tried to do a lot of discussions with high school folks in the this week because I'm not a high school person, so I'm really trying to understand what all the concerns are. In my building, we work together as a team for consensus. Our leader comes to us, we have a guiding coalition, we sit down and make decisions together. We pound out what our priorities are, we make decisions as a group, and then we flesh that out into our school. And I have not heard of that. I've been asking high school staff is that happening with this process? And from what I've heard is that there has been no discussion. There is no committee that has been hearing about the changes. That what happened earlier this week was a text chain was started by a member of the staff that's put about 30 people on it and started talking about a block schedule. And so this text chain has gotten kind of wild about what is or is not going to happen. If we had leadership that would come in and pull your seasoned veteran staff together that they trusted to make really strong decisions and had a guiding coalition that you could sit down and explain to people what the benefits are of an 8-period day or 7-period day and get some buy-in, and then be able to build consensus within your staff, and you listen to your staff and what they're telling you that is important to them, and hear what they're saying are going to be the challenges that are proposed by this, then I think a lot more people would be on board with this. But because that hasn't happened, people feel blindsided, and they don't feel like the communication has been clear and that their voice has not been heard or even wanted at the table.
Thank you. Ms. McLean, we haven't heard from you.
We have been talking about this list for 2 years. 2 years. It's hard for me to believe that there's been no discussion on this. Dr. Paluski meets with a teacher advisory board monthly. He meets with a student advisory board monthly. He's gotten feedback from them. They can go to him during that advisory time to discuss and ask any questions that are going on in the building. So I don't think that this has been approached without any kind of discussion whatsoever. So I just want to say that, because we've seen this for 2 years, and we've been discussing it at board meetings for 2 years. As a matter of fact, Doc Williams at the last board meeting when she was here, she was like, I don't want to see that anymore. We've seen it for 2 or 3 years. I'm about to feel that way about the increase in salaries, because I've been saying since I've been on this board I wanted to increase salaries. And first came the budget deficit. So we had to take care of the budget deficit. And we tried to stay away from staffing. I mean, you explained all that at the beginning, and it's so true. We stayed away from staffing on that, from our classroom teachers. So now we're in this position that what's on this list right here is basically where we can get money for teacher raises. Now, if teachers don't want a raise, we can put this in the trash can and then just continue to go down the road. But I will say this. I know last year, every single member on the board said they didn't want to do anything that was a benefit to a teacher. That's number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those things to me can be taken off of this list. That's going to reduce the amount that is on the last page by, I don't know, I didn't add them up. Mr. Brown, I'll let you do that. But the board, I have not heard anybody on this board ever say in any meeting that they wanted to cut any benefit from a teacher. And I still get people saying, well, y'all are going to cut our benefits. And I'm like, no, that's just something that's on that paper that's a possibility. And I don't know if we went around right now and asked everybody, do you want to cut the benefits of a teacher? I think all the answers would be no. And along with that, Mr. Brown, I would like for us, I know you brought this up at one of the board meetings, and I love the idea that if we took these benefits and put them into the teacher salary, then they could have it taken out as the cafeteria plan. They would see the amount of the benefit that they have, because we look at it totally separate from their salary, because those benefits are not included in their
Correct.
salary. Am I correct on that?
Correct.
Make sure I'm...
That's correct. A
That's-
paid contribution by the district is not considered a wage payment, a salary payment to them. That's correct.
So they could see exactly, I don't know if the employees know what the benefit is worth to them. And maybe some other districts do that, and maybe that's why their salary looks higher. I don't know. It's not that if we did that, we'd be saying, oh, well, this is y'all's raise. No, 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 no. It would just be saying, this is what your benefit is. I don't care if we just add up the benefits and send that out so that every employee knows how much of a benefit they're getting each year through their insurance things that we pay for. So I don't know. I'd like to see 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 off the list. That's me. I'd like to hear from some of the board members and see what they say about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Mr. Newsom?
Well, I have a lot to say, I guess. I wondered about this. I wondered if I was the only one that was feeling the same way, but what I've heard from some of the other board members is they have the same concerns that I do. What is our mission statement? Saving money or educating kids? And I think somewhere there's balance. I do. We certainly want to educate our kids. But with this and with the discussion we've had tonight, I tend to be like Board Member Barker in that I don't have feedback from students. I don't have feedback. And you've been getting some, obviously. I don't know how they feel, and I don't know that I want to make a decision that's not going to include the students and the teachers. With that said, a couple of things I do have some questions about as we process this, and we've talked before at board meetings. Other school districts do have the, I guess, call it the regular schedule as opposed to block scheduling. The regular schedule, are we seeing better grades in schools that have regular scheduling as opposed to something more unique in North Rock where it's block? Do we have any information on any of that? Another question I would have is teacher salaries. If we're at a base of 50, how does that relate to other school districts as far as teacher retention goes? Also, too, the only feedback I have from a student is a past student who said, and I happen to know him, he said it was good for him. I'm not claiming him. I'm just saying I know him. The block schedule was good for him because he has ADD. He was able to work out things in class and get things done more so than at home. Because if he was there with the lesson, he could participate in it. That's one, and if you've done anything mathematically or statistically, that is not. That is one person's bubble, and I'm related to him. That is not necessarily the best sample size that we have there with that. But did student grades start going down with block scheduling when the North Little Rock School District instituted it originally? Was it better before? I do have concerns as a new board member about that history because I'm not aware of it. I am also concerned as a new board member about that feedback before I make a decision on any of those things. So those are some of the questions that I have about it. And it doesn't matter what we do. The one thing that I like about this board, and for the limited time that I'm here, somebody's going to be upset about something and a decision that's going to be made. You can relate to that. Somebody's going to be upset, okay? But what I can say with the group of people that are here, one side or the other, we're very passionate about the North Little Rock School District and about taking care of the kids. And I can say that without fault. We really want to do the right thing. We're just trying to figure out what the right thing to do is. And there may be a lesser of the two evils. I don't know. But I think that's
Amen.
where I stand on this.
Madam President, thank you, Mr. Newsom, and thank you, everybody.
I was finna, I think I know where you're going.
Yep.
But just for clarification,
Yep.
so we can
Move on to the
give,
next item.
to move on to the next and to give Dr. P his charging orders on this particular subject. Correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds to me like the majority would prefer us to keep the block scheduling, reassess it.
No.
No. Okay. So you don't want to keep the block scheduling.
No, I'm suggesting that we not reassess it. Like, why keep it lingering if we're deciding that this is not in the best interest of students, it doesn't benefit outcomes, it's purely a financial decision in order to provide raises.
So you want to go to the A period?
No, I'm saying
It
that,
sounds like she doesn't want to her recommendation is not to touch the schools. Am I following you? You don't want to do anything with the school schedule.
from what I'm hearing, we have a habit as a board of saying no, but then maybe later. And what I'm suggesting is that we make clear decisions that say, no, not now, not again.
Okay.
And
so
that we have rhythms for which we review budget.
Okay,
Similar
so-
to the next one that's coming up.
So yours
that we've said no
is,
to,
do
that's
you want to
coming back
say, no, just keep it as is?
So this would be my recommendation, and I hear what you're
I know
saying. So my recommendation would be listening to the board of where we are. What I would recommend right now is something similar we did at the middle school, is do a program review of the entire high school education program, similar to what Mr. Poore did. It's a third party. They have no interest in the school district, and come back to you with, because remember, that includes teacher voice, it includes student voice, it includes parent voice, and then we could come back to you with that.
That's what
May talk about the school schedule, may not talk about
That's
the
what
school
I was
schedule.
alluding to, but the way that she's saying it is we don't even discuss it anymore.
I'm saying that we need, as a board, to develop a strategy for how we make these types of decisions. I do not think that hiring third-party consultants to review the high school is a good use of school funds. I don't know why it would be brought up in the moment when we're talking about making cuts of staff and nursing and all these other things either. So, like, I guess to me, again, I'm trying to wrap my head around this whole thing, but it doesn't make sense to me that we're being asked to review cuts with the lens that it's for raises for teachers that they may not get, and then pivoting in real time to assessing the health of the high school because we're upset about student achievement. Like, it seems to me like we're interweaving many challenges into one conversation. So are we talking about school raises, teacher raises, or are we talking about evaluating the health of the high school?
Well, I think Go ahead.
I'm just
I was
asking.
going to say it's about both.
Okay.
They're intertwined.
Because we have, obviously, our student performance is lacking at the high school. We have a state board of education that has said you need to make changes because you've got to have these scores come up. But we've been talking for 4 years and saying we wanted to give teacher raises. It's a complex situation, and I'm ready for us to make a decision on it too. I don't want to kick the can down the road, I don't think, anymore. But I have one clarifying question for Mr. Brown or Dr. Paluski.
Sure.
When Cardonex came in and said, you know, this is what you could do when we look at the situation and how many teachers are not in a flex period and how many teachers are only having less than 10 students and so forth. Is the solution to that to go to the 8-period day, or is it just a reduction? I shouldn't use that word because we're not doing that. Or it just means that you won't have as many full-time teachers in the building? That would be a question.
Yeah, I know when we met with Cardonics, that was one of their major concern is we're not being effective and efficient from their lens with the resources that we have. So
we have a whole lot of periods in the block schedule.
578 classes have less than 10
There's no
students.
accountability.
And
So
so
the 8-period would be
right.
much
So
more
remember
efficient.
that the rationale of why we went with Cardonics to our secondary schools is that that's one of the things I wanted to see is, are we using our resources effectively and efficiently? And to the high school's credit, we've reduced some staff over the last couple years to be more effective and efficient. But as they've done that audit, which we've talked about and we've all seen, their recommendation is an option would be an 8-period day. So that's one. An ABC day was another day. But, you know, where I sit, look, I work for all of you. So here's the deal. If we're going to just keep our hands off it right now, absolutely. You just tell me what you want me to do. If you want us to study the high school program or not, I just need some clear direction when we leave here today on what you would like us to do.
And that's the only reason why I asked what everybody's opinion was, because we've done it in the past and we're trying to get to where you are. But what normally happens, we leave the budget meeting and he has to go back to his office and try to cipher, do I do this or do I not? He needs a definitive answer by majority. Do he move on so that we can get contracts out, we can get classes scheduled and all that, come in the morning, or are we going to, how are we moving forward in the morning? The counselors need to know, are they doing, when they work on schedules in the morning, are they working on 8-week or are they working on AB?
Madam President.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Barker. I'm sorry, Ms. Barker.
Thank you, Madam President. I would ask, since your question was last, that we move forward with what we've been doing at this time with all of the discussion that is apparent that we have as a board. I echo, I think that was Ms. Scott speaking. I echo, and Mr. Newsom and everything that I'm hearing. It feels like we're riding a bike and trying to fix the chain at the same time when we're not moving. So I really think there's good intentions all around. I really echo some of the things Mr. Rogers referenced. You know, wherever route we take, we need to ensure the accountability from bell to bell, from class to class, you know, at all of our schools. Now, he said something that I was curious of the comment of how it wasn't fair, something that wasn't fair with elementary and high schools. And I guess the more I listened, he was referencing the planning time that high school teachers have that elementary teachers don't have. I believe that's where he was going. But I just think, you know, being a new board member, and I raised my hand to run for the spot. I didn't raise my hand to just, be there. I raised my hand to make a difference. And I really want to make healthy decisions. And we know one of us, especially our this board meeting, workshop, this training this week, fiscal management is one of the requirements of us as board members. So it's hard to make a decision off of, as my fellow board members were saying, maybe historical information. Dr. Paluski gave some numbers that I would love to see, because that is concerning, that data around, student achievement. But I'd also like to see what our student achievement look like, even years from that, so we can see and make some comparisons. I believe we got enough educated staff that we don't have to spend money, necessarily to hire people to do the work that we already paying people to do, and that's to evaluate where our schools are, with a comprehensive report. Because I know we got people out here that do those businesses, and I have no problem with that, but we're already trying to save money. And the other thing, I agree with raises. I love to see the teachers get raises. I agree with Ms. McLean. Yeah, cutting benefits, all of that stuff is looked at in the world. We see it in corporate America, we see it everywhere. But I do want to make sure, I know when I vote, or whatever I vote on, that I can go to sleep at night knowing that I made a healthy decision on the life of someone else. But my biggest thing is the life of the children, because I hear the stories of the children, but when we talk about that, I have a high, what percentage? That's why I was like, let's speak to the students. I've participated in town halls with students right there on their campus, just hearing from them. The best buy-in you're going to get from a community is to feel like they're engaged. Whether, knowing that we held this in our different, areas to just get a clarity. Because nothing feels good than being in your city and people, all of the back and forth about concerns. But I have no problem with making a decision as long as I know I'm making a sound, educated, healthy decision as it relates to whatever the decision is. But I really feel like at this time, it feels rushed, especially new. It may not to our, members that have been there, but being new, you get, you're reading something and you want the historical backing of it, how we got here. That would be my first one. How did we get here? How did we get here? How did we get to the desires of the school changing? All of those things. But I echo what I heard. It's hard to process change in some for students to meet this need over here, and we don't really know what is that really the need. Because me right now, when I look at North Rock schools, the need is to raise those swords. And when I think about reorganizing something, I think we need to reorganize how we're doing things to make sure we're really up in the time and days that the way things are being done to be effective as a board. Because I don't think any of us take the position lightly, but I definitely take it serious because I understand who I'm sitting there for, and many of them are the ones without a voice. So I really want to make sure that whatever's done, I don't think, just listening to the discussion, my say would be to hold off and let's see. But I agree with Mr. Rogers. We need to put, he said crystal clear, and that's exactly what I would say. That is crystal clear as to what the expectations would be, and sometimes things will weed itself out when you put accountability in place.
So, again, so we can move on to the next item, to give Dr. P's marching orders, because he needs to have some clarity of where we go from here.
Madam President, can I ask a question before we go further?
Yes.
And I agree with what Ms. Scott said, in that, I'd like to be able to make a decision and be done with it as well. But in this case, I agree with Mrs. Barker in that we don't have enough as new board members to make that information. I don't like kicking the can down the road. I'm the same. I want to do teacher raises, but also, too, I'm concerned about the students. And it really kind of sucks being a new board member, and I can't imagine what you go through all the time, Dr. B and stuff, and other folks in the school, too, because there's no it feels like there's not a way to win this thing here. No matter what you're going to do, it's going to be a tough decision, and it's going to be one of the toughest decisions that I think that the new members are making. So it's not one that we are taking lightly. It's one we want to do the best job we can on. And I think with schools, with something like scheduling like this, I don't say we're done. I don't think we just say we're done and never re-look at it again. I don't think that's correct at all. But I tend to agree with
Push and pause.
but I'm not saying don't bring this back and let's look at this, because we need to.
To wrap it up, the consensus
Okay.
appears to be, listening to everybody, the consensus, the majority consensus is pause so we can get schedules out. And I know, Ms. Scott, you don't like revisiting, but in order for everybody, every board member to get all of the information that they need to make a sound decision, we're going to have to revisit it eventually. But we've got to get schedules out now.
Understood, and I know there's others waiting to speak. So can we get clear on what additional information do we need
Yes.
and when we will revisit?
This is the time to let him know that. What do you need?
Mr. Newsom, what additional information do you need?
Information I need to know what the average teacher salary is in the state of Arkansas and how our district compares to other districts as far as teacher retentions go. I need to know if
Hold on, he's writing.
Hurry up. Teacher salary. And I can email you, Dr. P, if you need me to. It's just whatever you need me to do on this. I need to know, and I know the world has changed. I'm not oblivious to that. Oblivious to a lot of things, but not that. But how student scores were prior to block scheduling, and where we've seen and when we've seen the decline in those scores. And I know there are a lot of factors that go into that more than just schedules. I'd also like to get feedback, personal feedback, from teachers and students and have the time to do that, whether that's what Mrs. Barker suggested, doing a town hall and trying to make the right decision. And again, no matter what decision somebody makes, somebody's not going to be happy. There are people here tonight that are not going to be happy with the decision, but we've got to do something to make sure it's the right thing to do without having the knowledge to make that, to do the right thing. I think that's generally what I need to know more than anything else.
Ms. Barker, is there anything specific that Mr. Newsom didn't mention that you need?
No, ma'am. Those things will work.
Okay.
I'd like to have that information on the
and-
data that Dr. Paluski shared as well.
Yes, agreed. I was about to say the same thing, Mrs. Barker.
Mr. Taylor?
I'd like to have the information about the flex. Dr. Paluski mentioned something about teachers not having flex,
43 of them, that's correct.
and then
You want to know why?
coaches and things. And
Sure.
I'd like to understand better, can we use that resource? And I'd like to connect that with is it Dr. Rogers, correct? Okay. Can we use that resource, and how can that impact our student performance with our current situation?
Okay.
Ms. McLean?
I want to be clear on this. I see data that we already have. We already have the data on the students. We as a board have visited at the high school and talked with students for 2 years. And this last time really focused in on I talk to kids a lot and I get varied responses from them. But a lot of kids say, well, we just talk for the last part of the period because we're not doing anything. And other kids say, I'm using that to do this or that. So you're going to get varied responses on that, I know. But Dr. Rogers, your comments have impacted me greatly. And I appreciate you saying those things. and getting this record straight that things can change. We know that elementary and middle school teachers, their prep time is not equal in any way to what is happening at the high school. I don't know that what we're saying to him is, yeah, just continue the schedule again next year. I feel like we need to change something at that school for this coming year, whether it's let's do this and let's take the flex time, take that, or something. I'm not ready to just kick that can down another year. So I'm not sure that I would say I could go either way on that. I love the block schedule idea, and I know that it fits some classes well, but I also know what Ms. Temple said, and we have a lot of students that can't handle 90 minutes of instruction, and they need to be there every day with their teachers and getting smaller amounts at a time. So I can see that too, to go to that. And then with that, if we go to that, we also then can get money to try to give, to give back to our teachers in whatever format it comes in, or whatever amount. If we just end up if we go through this whole thing and it just have $200,000 that we've saved, well, we'll do something with the $200,000 for each teacher or employee. So I don't think that I can say, yes, let's just go ahead next year and just keep the same thing going, because I don't think it needs to do that. I don't think the State Board of Education wants us to do that. And I just feel like there's enough data in front of us that we can say it can't be the same next year as it has been. And also, just for reference, Mr. Newsom.
Without an
Thank you. When we had block scheduling before, we didn't have the Atlas test. So it's very difficult for you to be able to say, well, we had 8 periods and then we did this. You can't really look back and see that.
Yeah.
It would be nice if we could.
Yeah, and I am curious about, I know that we're, in a way, an anomaly with the block schedule. I get that. And I can't speak for other new board members, but I think this is what I'm hearing too. I need more information before I can make this decision.
For sure.
You got it. Ms. Temple?
Okay, I'm not married to either outcome. I'm just being devil's advocate that I thought there should be more discussion on this. But there's a couple things that were said. There was a comment about, well, are we here to save money or are we here to educate kids? And the answer is both, because we said to get highly qualified teachers, we have to be able to pay more. And so, when I hear that, I'm thinking that's not a fair assessment.
That's not exactly what I said.
I know, but I don't think I
No,
think
I said
that's
it.
come up a couple times
Okay.
that someone said, or we're not here to save money, but the saving the money was to hire better teachers, better outcomes. So
Yeah, I said that, what is our mission statement? Is it to save money or educate kids? And I think the essence of it is to educate kids, but also there's a balance there. And that's where I'm in agreement with you. We need to do teacher raises. We need to do these things. But there's also, and I don't want to continue on, we are where we are. There's also concern on some of our parts about, we just don't have the history to go with it. And the flex schedules, what can we do this year? And my other question, Madam President, is if this is on hold for right now, when can we bring this back so we can really start processing this?
Thank you for that, Mr. Dusa, because that was going to be my question too.
Yes.
What is, we can get you these questions immediately.
Okay.
But I will just say, from a practitioner, to make a change in the high school schedule, there would have, that decision, really looking at where we are, would have to be in the fall, sometime in the fall. So if you tell me October 1st, we'll get you this information, we'll collect more information for you and bring that back to you, but in a larger topic conversation,
Yeah.
if there is gonna be a change.
I would even, before you finish, just to end with what you were saying, I would even say the first of the year. And the only reason why I say that is because that still gives you time for scheduling if it got changed, and it gives you a semester to show what Dr. Rogers was saying, the accountability, to see if it's even better, if it's working. October is that's only, they're only in school for a couple of months. You really can't assess anything. So I would even say through the semester, let's get through this next semester and see where we are, and then we'll have even more information to see what's working, what's not working going forward. And that still would give time for the counselors, if we changed anything, to be able to fix scheduling. Does it make sense?
Yep.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
sorry, Ms. Temple.
All right, so then I wanted to go back because I want to acknowledge what you're saying. We've been looking at this for 2 years. So what's happened is some of this is the board has dropped the ball. And then some of it is staff has dropped the ball because we have asked for stuff to come back in a time that would allow us to make a good decision and not be rushed. But invariably, it's always down to the wire. And here we are, kicking the can again. And I'm sorry to say, but, raises are not on the horizon at this point. There's no way. But I also agree with what Ms. Scott said. We need to do this better. I have a whole list of things that I think we should throw out, and I would see, like I had on here, what are the non-negotiables? We need to be able to tell our superintendent, this is a non-negotiable. Don't even talk to us about it. And then, what are some realistic goals? And I got 11 things here that I think we could throw out and say, yeah, let's look at that, or no, forget about it. Or we'll look at that 2 years out, or something. Because he needs, we're beating him up. We're beating him up. He's doing exactly what we're asking him to do, and here we are rushing again.
But to be fair to, as we talk about planning time, I'm going to pull a resource that I wanted to share with you guys as we collaborate as a board. There was significant surveying done around adequacy, both superintendent, principal, and teacher level. One of the things they found at the teacher level was that the reason why they're not able to make good use of their planning time, 63% say that paperwork interferes with their teaching. And so, as we think about these strategies on how to improve instruction, from my perspective, it's like, well, what are we asking them to do during that planning time that doesn't lead to more effective instruction? These are questions I have. But as we're making budget decisions today, to me it just feels like we're passing a hot potato with all the different issues.
Sure. And you bring up a good point. So I think one of the things that we could do is really take a deep dive, not to give another acronym of a PLC, but all the work that we've done around and expectation of professional learning communities and what we do expect during planning time. That would probably be a good thing for you and other school board members to take a deep dive into, so you can better understand the expectation of planning and collaborative planning. I think it's also important that you understand the Danielson model. That is how teachers are evaluated, and the first domain is planning, and they're evaluated on that every single year. We can take a deep dive into that so you can understand how that ties into the evaluation process. Absolutely.
Are there models for board collaboration?
I got you, Ms. Baker.
Sorry, Ms. Baker, I don't mean to interrupt. But because what I'm trying to get at is our ability to collaborate so that we're sharing ideas with one another as a board. Sure. When are our planning periods?
We don't have that because the law says we're not supposed to actually have meetings unless we invite the public.
However,
that's not how I understood the law.
However, I think it would be a retreat is a good place to do that.
Yes, we can have a retreat.
On a Saturday, we're
yes, ma'am. That's what he's saying.
Things let's first start with the non-negotiables, and let's all discuss that and figure that out. That, in my opinion, would be the time
we can do that
to discuss those things, so we can all get on the same page. And as you're talking about collaboration and all of that?
Yes,
within
Yeah.
the board?
we can have a board retreat.
Okay.
It's just that when we have it, we still have to let the public know 24
It's
hours
public.
before we have
That's
it.
fine. I welcome the public's
Yeah.
participation in district decisions. I'm just saying that, like, from my perspective, there's a gap in our planning and decision making, especially if it's taking 2 years to review a list.
This is our retreat.
That's what I was
We're
about to
just
say.
not at a
That's
nice
the problem.
hotel.
It goes
I don't
back
need to go anywhere.
It
We
goes
can come
back
right
to
here.
what I said at the beginning was at every workshop, we've had these, but at the end of every one, there is no charging orders. There's no direction. Today is different. Before we leave at each item, he's going to know clarity what we expect. That's the problem. So, to tie all that up, Dr. Paluski, do you have clarity
I
on
think
where
so.
we're going? So
so-
when you wake up in the morning,
Yep.
the students and staff and everybody will know, what are we doing with block scheduling?
Yep, that's assuming I sleep. So the first thing is we're just gonna stop. We're stop anything around the high school schedule. We'll continue with an A-day, B-day block. We will look at flex. I'm kind of hearing that, and Dr. Rogers and I have spoken about that. And then there's a series of questions here that you have asked that you would like more information to. We can provide those on, that's a weekly board report. Some of this we can get pretty quickly. We can eventually take a deep dive into professional learning communities and understand all that stuff. And then a retreat is also an outcome out of that as well. And then as far as, I guess I need some direction of, there is or is not an appetite to do a program review or study the high school. Let's not forget, we've got 2 new leaders coming into that school. Here's how you can enhance the onboarding process, is to take a jump start to that, because there's things they're just not gonna know. But I need direction on that. Is that because that would have to come before you as a
I would
board.
think that that's ongoing. We have to, you have to keep assessing so we
Sure.
know what's working.
And does that have to be outsourced by a third party, or is it something that the coalitions can volunteer to provide feedback on what's working, what's not, and what needs to be changed?
Sure, and that's part of that process. One would have to be the technical expertise, would be a component of that, of
Okay.
understanding the schedule, understanding, there's some nuances to that. But no, I mean, technically, if you don't want us to do it,
I
where
want you to
run
do
into a
it, but not,
challenge
yeah.
is, if I ask him to do it, that's all he's gonna do. And so he doesn't have the time to be able to do it. That's why we use a resource like that, because it speeds the timeline process up, where we're gonna get a bunch of information in a short amount of time from a lot of stakeholders that we can make a decision on, which is what we did with the middle school, and that provided a lot of context and,
Right.
and rationale as to why we need to make an immediate change. And what that takes into consideration is student focus groups, student surveys, parent surveys. They take all that information and summarize it in a report. If we do it, it's going to be very labor intensive. We can.
How much did we pay for the poor report?
I think it was maybe 25, 30. I could go back and check.
I'm just saying that it might be
it was
worth us
50.
throwing out there. If it's $50,000 and we know the scope, I think I don't know, right? I didn't intend to talk about this tonight. I'm just suggesting that we reconsider paying to have it done.
And that would be up to the board.
They've organized pretty quickly this week, so.
Last year when we were working on the stipends, we had discussed that we would use the surrounding schools that we lose both staff and students to within a 30-minute drive. And so we looked at the salary schedules. Mr. Newsom had asked the question, I need to know the information of what it would take us to get our salary schedules. We took an analysis of Cabot, Conway, Bryant, North Little Rock, PCSSD, and LRSD, and it would take us $4.2 million to get to the average of those 5 other schools.
Okay. I'm good.
You're good.
think.
All right, we ready to move on. We're The next is outsourcing. So I'll do, again, get mine out the way so I can hear everybody else's. As it relates to custodial outsourcing, I want to revisit how this conversation began for me. Initially, the plan was to pilot outsourcing at the high school for 1 year, allowing us to evaluate its effectiveness before making a district-wide decision. However, that approach was not fully carried out. I was supportive of rebidding the service before, particularly because I always remind you, I am just one voice of 7, and this is just my opinion. I feel strongly about prioritizing in-state partnerships whenever possible and keeping those resources within Arkansas. During that time, I also reflected on something we've said often as a board, that we like to grow our own, because individuals who are connected to our district tend to be more invested in our students and our schools. With that in mind, I like to offer a potential alternative. It's just an alternative. It may still provide some cost savings, perhaps not to the extent originally discussed, but it's another option that we as a board can consider so we can have some more facts. Ms. Scott likes facts, so we can have some more facts and information. In the course of this process, I had the opportunity this week to connect with someone whose perspective I found to be both timely, because we were about to talk about this, and relevant. And I later learned that he also has children at the high school, which adds an additional investment to me in my mind. But rather than me risk miscommunicating the details, I would ask for just really briefly if Mr. Fred Woods would come up to the mic, and so the board can ask him any questions, and if he can explain what he explained to me. I got it my way, but I want them to get it their way.
So my name is Fred Woods. I am a franchise owner for the largest commercial cleaning franchise.
Make sure you're speaking in the mic so the folks online can hear you.
Copy. So it's kind of weird here, because I went from coming here to talk to you about the cleanliness of the school and the program to try to keep some of your staff and just assist them. But I'm also, like she just said a while ago, a parent. I was dropping my daughter off probably the last week before she started driving herself, and somebody put that flyer on my car about them contracting the entire school. I'm like, wow, I thought that was kind of different. So I kind of did a little research on it. I couldn't find the RFP on it, and I quickly realized that it was already bidded out. So to try to work on both sides, to be straight direct and keep this kind of fast, I'm not prepared. I'm not a great speaker. I have 2 children. One is graduated from Fayetteville May the 9th. She's going to be a dentist. And she struggled her first year there. However, I'm texting my wife, and I said, why was she struggling? She said because she took 4 honor classes instead of 2 like they recommended. And so she's graduating with over 3.5 with plans to go to dental school. And my 11th grader here is about a 3.8 GPA average.
Awesome.
I chose North Little Rock School District because of the program. I grew up in Little Rock. Between North Little Rock School District and North Little Rock Park and Recreation, they have educated my kids, to me, in a good way. So with that being said, when I hear stuff about the school and what's going on here, I take it personal, very personal. Some of my personal gains here, I have controlled or led the highest and best scores for the biggest hospital here. Won't speak the name, I guess. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. Currently, I manage crews at 2 behavior hospitals. I also own a company by the name of Elite Motorsports. We work on our own equipment, vehicles, which is a big thing about janitorial supplies, is because you just can't get anybody to work on it anymore. It's so costly expensive. And so we work on a lot of ours. Of course, I took all these notes and don't think they're going to do any good now. But I would like to work hand in hand with your crew, not just get rid of them. I think I could be a good crutch to you guys. I think I can help lead in direction that state workers probably can't. You know, I also cleaned ASU football stadium. It took them 26 employees to clean that every game. I did a better job, easier, with 15 to 16 people. And so I would like the opportunity to revisit this. Is what I'm asking from the board.
So I just want to be clear. So you did not put in a bid for?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Even though we went through the process and put it out there.
From my understanding, normally those bids go for like 15 or 30 days, and I never saw it. And I look regularly, probably a couple of times a month. I never seen it.
So is the ask, I'm just want to be clear, is the ask to reopen the bids based upon his feedback? Or
I would like clarity on the bid process, because the slide that we were looking at earlier showed that it was posted in the paper Wednesday the 25th, and then we were already scheduling tours by Sunday the 27th. So I'm just curious, like, what was the RFP process for this work? Because that's a pretty quick turnaround from posting in the paper to doing walkthroughs.
Let's look at the RFP. Or let's look at the newspaper ad first. We sent it to the paper on the 19th. We asked them to advertise it on Sunday and on February the 25th.
And then we had people there 3 days later, ready to bid?
The walkthrough was done on, hold on.
I think you said the 27th.
February the 27th.
Yeah.
So we scheduled the walkthrough for companies to come and gather information. We had the RFP, so when they got the RFP, they could get the packet and see what the requirements were. Then this was an opportunity for them to come put their eyes on the facilities so
Right.
they could complete their bid packet.
I guess, and y'all know I'm being a troublemaker tonight, but I'm just, the timeline doesn't make sense to me from a process perspective. I'm not trying to pick on this one, but just in general, like when we're gonna take bids to outsource work, like how long are we advertising that we're receiving bids, and how long are we leaving it open for people, local people especially, to consider? Because this was posted and then toured and then closed in 2 weeks. Per standard of what?
Was it closed in 2 days or 10 days?
No, it was, the
Or
bids.
was it posted twice? Like
It was
on one
posted
Sunday
twice.
and another Sunday?
It was posted on a Sunday and a Wednesday.
So it wasn't in the paper 10 days in a row?
No.
No.
Oh,
So,
so only 2 days?
Yes, that's we don't post, we've never posted anything 10 days in a row.
so before we have another question on that for Mr. Woods, thank you very much for coming.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate it.
Honored to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Woods.
Just for clarity from you, what you're asking is for the opportunity to be able to submit a
Correct.
proposal.
Correct.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
I've been getting a lot of texts
The
too,
bids
so
were due
this
in
is
March,
from some custodians. One, when it came to the walkthrough, and let me actually go back, from when the board first asked for the RFP, and we were revisiting, because I was here when all that was going on, there has not been a discussion, per the custodians that have told me, with their superiors to kind of come up with a plan, and I'm with you, is that I feel like there's an opportunity that we could find some common ground. And I've even mentioned them, could it be cutting hours and then having some part-time people? They're willing to have the conversation, but there hasn't been a conversation. They feel like they've been just kind of left out there. Also, I also want a point of clarification as we're talking about raises to the new staff. We have asked as classified that it not just be teachers, because classified have not been a part of this conversation. We don't get merit pay. So when we're talking about raises, we're not included in this conversation. I hear a lot of things about teachers, but we work hard too. And a lot of the classified are the lowest paid in the district. So when we're talking about bringing, and I'm a fan of teachers. I don't want anybody to think that I'm not, but I'm also here knowing that we have people in our district that make $12 an hour, that don't have cars, that ride buses, that are fed out of our own food pantry. So I want to make sure that that is stated. Also, from the standpoint of custodians as well, is that, as they have said, they're not getting any direction. It's kind of like they're being told, we're going to an outsource, and so there's no conversation. And so to me, that's unfair, because how can I do my job effectively if I don't know what I'm supposed to do? I'm blessed to have Dr. Stoll, Dr. St. Louis, and Sarah to give me direction of what is expected of me. But if you don't know what you're supposed to do and you feel like you're out on an island, that's tough for people. And I've said this before, and I will say it again. We classified is always the one that takes the cuts. And here we are again to give teachers raises, and I will give Ms. Stumpinhouse a lot of credit. We've worked great together over the last week. As you requested, we've had a lot of conversations. We don't want to speak against each other, because I feel like the teachers should get raises too, but I'm also a classified, and I feel like we should be entitled to a raise too. But I just don't want the new board members that are getting on here, and even those of you guys that are still here, please don't forget about classified staff when we're talking about what is needed in the district. Like as I said, we work just as hard. You cannot open your schools without bus drivers, food, nutrition, and security. That's classified. So I want to make sure that I say that. Thank you.
If it's any consolation, remember, I was one of you. So believe you me, I'm always thinking about classified.
I appreciate that, Doctor.
Ms. Barker.
Thank you. I was just going to ask, I heard the gentleman speak, and I heard comments about our custodians, and that was going to be my question. Who supervises our custodians?
Sure. Right now I'm sorry. Right now that is Mr. Isaiah Washington. We've not had, for the last 6 months, we have not, you remember
Carvin.
Our beloved Carvin and Kim Martin, who had done that job for a lot of times. If the board was going to consider outsourcing, it didn't make sense to us to kind of fill that, because we would hire people and then we'd cut them if we outsourced. And it's taking its toll on Mr. Washington. He's running all the maintenance department, and he's trying to juggle that as well. But he currently is the one that's supervising both day and night shift currently. And if tonight's conversation is we're going to put a hold on this, and we're getting ready to get closer to the end of the year, I might suggest we fill those supervisory positions, because it's having a toll. And we held off because there was a decision that had to be made. And
We're
I guess
going to make sure we give you some clarity.
Yeah, I just need some clarity. Is this something that you want us to stop? You want us to reissue RFPs? Do you want us to not issue RFPs and hire for supervisors so we can have more direct supervision over that and pick this up at another time? I just don't know what you want me to do. Remember, and I thank you, Ms. Hughes, and we appreciate that. I'm only doing what I've been directed. After that failed, I was asked to go back and do this again, which is what we've done. We followed the timeline of the process of the RFP that's required by law. We followed all that as we were asked to do. And so, I just need some clarity on what you would like me to do.
Got you. Ms. Barker, did you have something else?
It was breaking up a little bit, but I was going to also ask, are we looking to outsource custodians to save money, I'm trying to understand the reason for why we're even at an outsource discussion about our custodians.
Sure.
Originally, that was one of the items that to go back to why we're where we are.
I see it in the green bucket. I see it here. But I guess when I look at that, you know,
Sure.
the phone
So,
is breaking up on me. But I do see
Sure.
that it is one of the discussions for tonight. But when you think about, I think someone said you can't open a school. Is it a performance concern, or is this something we're looking at as another avenue to save? Is it something that our custodians, for the performance?
It's one of the budget.
Performance? Have they had training? Have we taken them in?
yep. So, and I think what we could.
Development and understanding and
Sure. So,
I'm just curious what's been done to support.
It goes back to the beginning, is how we got to where we are, why we're here tonight as far as the budget, because the previous board charging orders to Dr. Paluski was to find funding in every area, and this happens to be one of the areas to find funding.
and I think, Ms. Barker, what we'll do, just out of respect for our new school board members, is to give you the rationale that was presented in front of the school board several months ago, such as 67% of our entire custodial staff, as an example, have turned over in the last several years. A lot of those have been due to termination, folks not showing up on time. So that's part of the issue. Complaints that we've received from every level, high school, middle school, elementary school. Matter of fact, just yesterday, I had a concern at an elementary school, wasn't being clean, custodians didn't show up. So some of that, but as I'm going to take my questions on this one, sounds like that's something that we need to provide to our new school board members. So you have some more background, although I know Mr. Brown provided, and we'll continue to provide that in the weekly board report. I think the week before spring break or something, we added some stuff, but we're happy to provide that for you if you would like.
Well, I think we're in a unique situation because a lot of work appears to have been done and discussed, prior to new board members. And now new board members are coming on trying to learn and understand what has been said and what has been done. And that's where I think it's happening right now, because to afford us the right and the fairness to know and understand, regardless of what has been discussed, and that is all to be respected and will be reviewed. But, coming in new, we deserve the right to hear all of that and understand.
Sure.
So that, because this is our day now. We're not filling shoes. We brought a new pair of shoes to the board. So just really want to understand where we are and what's going on with everything, as I said earlier, to ensure that whatever we do, we make healthy decisions.
Sure.
As a board.
Understood. So is the direction to put a hold on this right now altogether?
Just a second.
Oh,
go ahead.
Okay, Dr. Paluska, I heard the percentages that you just quoted, and I think one night at the board meeting, Mr. Stanger gave some statistics on the custodians as well about, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but however many percentage were terminated for disciplinary reasons, and it was a really high percentage, and both of the supervisors were here that night, and even when that number was given, it was alarming to me, and I don't think correct, and afterwards they actually came up to me, and both of them said, I have not had that many people terminated for disciplinary reasons since I've been here. So I think before we give out percentages, that we actually show that on paper. And you yourselves are in closed executive session doing employment issues or whatever. And so you would have the data there too, to know if you've termed someone for disciplinary reasons or whatever. From the initial, when this proposal outsourcing came about, and I spoke that first night, not knowing that, and it was a surprise to most of the custodians that they didn't even know that they were up for outsourcing until, you know, that particular night or maybe a day before, and it was through a text chain that, hey, they're going to be discussing this tonight, because no initial conversation had been had with them. And so, you know, here we are, you know, tonight with it back on, you know, the chopping block, so to speak, and no initial conversation still has been had with them. And if you run the data now, as far as attendance, it is going to be high because, and this is my opinion, because for the most part, the consensus is I don't have the support of administration. They're going to do what they're going to do. So why show up? And I've been surprised with the number of custodians that have retired, they've left, they've resigned, some terminated for whatever reason. But I don't think that we're given the true picture of what's really going on with that department. Now, Dr. Paluski, you say, you know, Mr. Washington is their supervisor or whatever, and I have had direct, you know, communication with some custodians that there has been no communication whatsoever from him to them. And not only that, I have heard staff members in a school who have overheard him talking about the custodians in public. Now, I am not a supervisor. I am in no supervisory role, but I do know that if I'm going to be a supervisor over anybody, that first of all, I'm going to support them. I am going to show support. I am not going to go around bad-mouthing. I'm going to give direction, correction, whatever is needed. So if you have someone that is not in your corner, you don't have faith in them, and this is not something that I'm just making up, you know, they talk. I am the chairman of the CPPC. And as I've stated to this board initially, I am not here to be adversarial, but at the same time, I am not here to just nod my head on everything and say, yes, that's right, yes, that's right, yes, that's right. Because we need, above anything else, we need to be transparent in what we're doing and in what we're saying. And there's a lot of, we just need to be transparent. Or if we're not, we just need to strike that word out of our vocabulary, out of all of our documents. Like on Moses, let the name of Moses be stricken from the 10 Commandments. But I just know that when
I just
people
say something here for a second, because
yes.
I know in our public comments you can't say something about a.
That's correct.
Particular
About another.
and I
personnel.
apologize, and I just reflected, and I stand corrected.
Which is inappropriate.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna stop there.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's do it this way so we can move on. Ms. Barker, we'll start with you. Ms. Barker, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Do you would you prefer for Dr. P to repost the RFP or replace the 2 custodians and move on?
You broke up, Ms. Regis. Can you come back to me while I get in a quieter place?
Okay.
There's a third option.
What's the third option?
Go ahead and outsource the high school.
Oh.
Oh, just the high school?
Yeah, if that's what it takes to bring peace of mind.
So can I have it for a few minutes again? So that would be, I need a little more time to evaluate the whole situation, the entire situation. My recommendation on my behalf, I was a certified miner for 19 years. I'm far from a corporate guy. It's just been, business has been good to me, and I take it very seriously. My recommendation is not to outsource it if you have people and good workers here that's able to retire in a few years. My recommendation would be bring a company in like myself and be a crutch to you guys. We can take the school, the high school, the middle school, the big school, the little school, the trouble school, whatever you guys see that needs to be fit. And if you lose an employee and you decide to replace them with me or with your guys, that's my recommendation. And that way you will always stay in full control of your own home. If you outsource it all, a lot of times you lose hold to it. It's just become a number. A lot of companies, first thing they want to do is sell everything you got, make you buy it under their name, and
Yes,
it will
sir.
be very hard and expensive for you to take it back over.
So your request, Mr. Woods, is for us to engage your company in a contract to support our custodial services?
Correct.
Okay.
And I will grow into my own management, which my management will work hand in hand with yours. It's a very easy process. It worked real good. At one point, I had over 180 employees. My supervisors work with yours. Whatever was ranked over your supervisor can tell my supervisor what needs to be done. Generally, what'll happen is you'll say, Fred, that's your school. Fred, this is your area, and we will take care of it.
Okay.
Okay, well, let me do it this way.
I
I'm
would
writing it all
just
down.
want-
Crystal, what do you want to do when it comes to outsourcing? Oh, she said she was going to a quiet room. Ms. Scott, what do you want to do when it comes to outsourcing?
I'll refer back to a point I made earlier that in no way does this feel like a strategy for the health and finances of the district. These decisions feel very impulsive to me, and I recognize that there's lots of history to them. I'm not trying to discount the work that's come before me. I'm just saying that I think there are options outside of this list that have not been considered. And so my questions about the RFP process were to highlight what is the process for reviewing contracts across the entire district, not just this one. So I vote that we not move forward on any of these cost suggestions.
Just caution, you can't vote. It wouldn't be a
But-
vote. You're
Okay.
just
Your
making a.
recommendation.
You're asking me what my vote is, so that's why I'm using that language in response. My
Sorry,
recommendation
your recommendation.
is that we discontinue this conversation about this list and review our overall financial strategy as a district, including 5-year trends, by all 4 or 8 funding buckets and seeing how they've changed over time, and generate a new list that is community-driven and that the suggestions for changes come from the buildings because they have many suggestions for how we can save money.
For clarity, if we did that, we put it on hold, would you be opposed to Dr. P replacing those 2 positions that we put on hold because we were waiting to decide on if we were outsourcing?
If we have open positions that we're not filling, we should fill them.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Temple, what do you want to do?
I want to move forward with it. I think it just makes sense. But at minimum, what we had agreed to do was outsource the high school. I think we should at least try that, if nothing else, and see how that works.
Mr. Newsom?
I have a question about the numbers here on this. This shows the amount of $450,000, if I'm reading this correctly, but on the information, the RFP, it says 2.6 million. Is that a year? How long is that contract for the savings of 450?
So the district's expenditures, total custodial expenditures for a fiscal year was 3.1 million. The low bid we had 2 low bids at 2.6 million.
2.6, and the
So
other company was the one
difference-
that stood up as the better of them for
So the difference
a
in
net
those
savings
two,
of 450 is what we're
yes,
looking
the
at
difference
there.
in those two represent the 450 in savings.
Okay. I tend to like the idea of the third option, where you come in as a consultant. I'm curious about the RFP, if that can be reopened, or if it has to be done new. If it has to be done new, I don't see the point in doing that. But I kind of like the third option of that. If not that, then the high school outsource that one, and just see what happens with it and see if it works.
Ms. McLean?
I appreciate what you had to say, Mr. Wood, but I believe that even if we went in that direction, we'd have to put an RFP out
That's correct.
so that all persons interested could apply for that. But the board asked y'all to do an RFP. We did it. We had how many people responded or got information?
We had 12 vendors reach out to us, and we had, I believe, 6 attend the walkthrough and 4 submit proposals.
So obviously, the process that you used got responses from companies, and I would say we need to go ahead with that process. If we go through another RFP, it's another delay,
It'll be another month or so.
at least, if not more. So, yeah, I'd say go ahead with what we currently have gotten in from the process that you use.
Mr. Taylor?
Okay. So, what question do you want me to answer?
What do you want to do?
What do I want to do? Okay. I would do another RFP.
That's it?
And hire the 2 supervisors. See, you told me what I wanted to do now. You're changing it.
So just a point of clarity, so if we go through the RFP process and you do approve an outsource, or is it you just want an RFP for the I'm confused. Do you want an RFP just for the high school? Do you want an RFP for what we just did? And then if we hire 2 supervisors and you outsource, what do I tell those individuals that, I'm just confused on what you would like?
Since I said the 2 supervisors, because you said we needed to hire them, if we're going to do an RFP, I just wanted to have the option that Mr. Wood just presented, where it's not a total.
So I believe if you hired 2 people, my approach would be, I'm sure who's not short-staffed now, I believe those people will go to another location if you're short-staffed anywhere.
As supervisors. So you're hiring them as supervisors and then they're gonna go be custodians? I'm confused on.
Well, my setup is a little different. My supervisors actually clean too, so I can't speak on you guys. I mean,
Sure.
Explain it then.
so what I was saying is any employees that you had, if they were good hands, keep them. I mean, send them to where they're needed. Send them to where you can use them. Like I said, I'm sure we short staff probably half the schools. I mean, it's just the way of the world now.
So it sounds like the direction you're giving me is you would like an RFP to go out for all of custodial services?
Not yet.
Okay.
I hadn't heard from Crystal.
Okay. Yes,
Ms.
ma'am.
Ms. Barker? Did she leave us?
I'm here.
Okay. What would you like to happen with the outsourcing?
Well, I really don't want to see outsourcing. I'd like to see more us working with our internal staff. But
Okay.
Okay. And for me, I'm with Mr. Taylor on this one. My reason is because maybe I should have known, but I didn't know. I had not just Mr. Woods, but I've had other people ask me, when are you going to bid? And I'm like, well, I'm not sure. They hadn't said, but we've told them. Didn't know that it was out there. Didn't have a clue. And so I would like if we're going to look at outsourcing, as a board, we know it's going to drop on this day, and they have from this time to this time, so I can sound professional when somebody calls me, and I can tell them, no, you missed the deadline because we posted it on such and such and such date, and it ran for 10 days.
Okay.
But I felt like as a board member, because
Sure.
when I was asked, and I was honestly thinking I was waiting to be told when the RFP was going to hit. I had no
So-
clue.
Okay, so would you like we could put that in the weekly board report, right? So we do construction stuff all the time, we send RFPs out. Would you like that information as well in your weekly board report every time that we put an RFP out? And just to make sure that you know and are aware?
It would be helpful.
Sure.
Just so when I get phone calls, I don't sound like, well, I'm a board member, but I have no clue when they're going to send
Sure.
it out.
I think another thing we can approach with a little more time, I'm sure you guys are using a staffing service.
G1 staffing, we do.
Okay.
We do.
There's several ways we can approach this with just a little more time.
Sure.
Have you looked at all the requirements for,
I went over them briefly, but I can have my corporate office is actually working the masters right now, and so I can get my corporate team down here next.
So I guess just a point of clarity, if just generally speaking, if we do the RFP process in the future and someone does not make the timeline and comes back and asks for it to be reposted, are we going to honor that as well?
That's a good question.
This would set a precedent.
Well, but I guess my thing is, when the RFP was put out, I thought 10 days meant 10 straight days, not 2.
What does the law
No, it-
state? Oh, I think they're putting up that you need to talk into the microphone.
Okay, go ahead.
The law does not require that we advertise in the paper every day for 10 days. It just requires that we post. And it says the board comes up with that policy. What our standard approach is to advertise. We advertise once. It has to remain open for at least 5 days. But we go beyond that. So we don't run a paid advertisement in the paper for 5 consecutive days. We run an ad in the paper, and then the bid process has to remain open for at least 5 days. This was a larger project to be assessed, and so we ran it twice, and we offered physical walkthroughs of the facilities, and then the bids were due March 3rd.
So you ran it one day and then you ran it another day?
Yes.
How did people know to, okay,
The businesses, they subscribe to the legal section of Arkansas
Okay.
Democrat Gazette. That's what,
so they know things like that comes through?
yes.
Okay, I got you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Our ad goes in the legal section of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette.
Okay.
So if I tally it up, correct me if I'm wrong this time. It's kind of sticky. You have 3 dead set on outsource: Temple, McLean, and Newsom.
Not dead set.
What's your other alternative?
My option is the same, and I know we're kicking the can. My option is the same. I like the idea of getting the supervisors and working with our staff that we have. If we have to outsource something, I would suggest the high school.
Okay, I'm just going to tell all of it, and then I don't know how we're going to figure this out. Then you have, Crystal says hold, Ms. Scott says hold.
Sorry, I'm trying to find the the words to make this clear. I think that proposing a cut to outsource custodial services for the benefit of teacher raises is not a sound decision at this time. I want a bigger financial strategy session as a board. So my suggestion is that we try to fill any open positions we have as a district, including those two supervisory roles, and that we pause on all of these cost-cutting measures.
Okay. For me, if we're not going to reopen the RFP, then I would prefer that we hire the new people and move on. You're,
When you say move on, what does that mean?
I guess I'm with Ms. Scott on that one. If we're not gonna reopen the RFP, then I just would prefer Dr. P fill those two positions and let's keep it moving.
Okay.
So, what I'm
But where are you, because I know you wanted to open up the RFP as well, so
Right. But
if we don't do that, then
If we don't do that, then I would kind of go back to what Ms. Scott said. Let's get back together, figure out what a better strategy is.
so
Okay.
it sounds like it's more of that.
So
than
the
outsourcing.
clarity for me is we'll move forward with the two supervisory positions, we'll get those hired, and then you give me some direction on what, if outsourcing's off the table, or you want us to visit it another time. We're just gonna go through and we'll start with hiring our supervisors and supporting our custodial services. And if you wanna pick it up at a later time or a version of that, then I just need to know that at another time if you wanna, like, just do the high school, if that's something you want, but it doesn't sound like at this moment, what you want me to do is go hire those two positions and get the supervisors in place.
I'm
Is that-
stuck on in this moment,
Okay, you got it.
so that we can move forward. I'm stuck on in this month.
Madam President, can we add to that every custodian be afforded a one-on-one and sit-down time to talk about their status, their performance, and all of that? So
Sure,
if it does
sure,
come
Ms.
back
Barker,
up,
I think
there's
once,
evidence and data that they've been,
sure,
talked to, made aware of what's in front of them.
That's fair.
I just think if, when I'm listening that they hadn't been talked to, I'm just listening, no one has spoke to them about it. I think it's only fair that any employee, receives that one-on-one time as it relates to their position, and if there's training that can be done, but at least we could, as a board, know that tools were put in place to help them be effective, before just making a cut like that, so we can make some, again, healthy decisions.
sure, once we get the supervisors on, they can do one-on-ones with every single one of those
That's fair.
employees. It'll be part of their onboarding process.
That's
of
fair.
Each custodian and the campus that they serve. Sure.
That's fair.
No problem.
All right. Moving on.
And require that they sign off that they understand what they're hearing and have been put before them as it relates to their job and the future. I think that just helps with clarity
Sure,
for someone when you're doing those type of things.
sure. Sign out expectation.
Can we also be mindful that some of our custodians only speak in Spanish? And so
Okay.
that we are making sure that
Good
we
to
are
know.
mindful of that.
Good to know. Thank you.
Get an interpreter. We have,
Good to know. All righty, moving on. Eliminate tuition reimbursement.
Yeah,
I don't have a comment.
I was gonna say, probably at this point, if those are the two, there's not, there's not a lot of cost savings there at all.
So that means there is no other.
No, I agree. I agree. But I would like to find time for a retreat so that we can nail down a date on that action item, like as a commitment as a board coming out of this, since we did just shut everything down.
Well, we can do that, and then we'll conclude. Let's pull up calendar. We normally do, the last time we did a retreat, it was during the summer.
Just tell me when.
Dr. Polisky, do
Either
you
June or
have
July.
a sample agenda for how to make a retreat effective? Like what, and maybe, yeah, based on what
Absolutely.
that agenda might need to look like, then we can also.
The reason why I said then, because we're already at April and graduation is next month, and so it's a lot, and we got to get contracts out and all that. That's the reason why I said to wait until the school year is over before we have a retreat. That's just,
I'm available for all of you. Saturday, Sunday, midnight.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm just saying that this budget conversation, finance is obviously a part of that conversation, but the broader strategic plan, like I'm wondering, as far as an agenda, what we as a board, so that we can make better, unified, more efficient, what is the word?
So-
Effective and efficient decisions from
So
the board. That's
maybe-
my goal.
Maybe a suggestion, I could just put a rough draft together, send it to you, and then each individual could just give me individual feedback.
that
We
works.
like that, we don't like that, I want to talk about this, or, because typically when we've done it before, we do a little bit of roles and responsibilities and just check on that, norms, protocols. But yes, getting into the strategic plan, the 5 big areas, those rocks, the performance metrics, the strategies, yeah. Or just, here's another suggestion is text or email me suggestions that you would like. Maybe that's a good way to start it is text or a good one-on-one conversation with me. Like, hey, these are 5 things I want to make sure we touch on at the retreat.
Ms. Temple, I feel like you have something to say.
No, she wants
Okay.
it
You
to
want
be
it soon.
sooner.
What I said was, this is what happens every
Yeah.
time. It gets delayed. So now we're looking at a whole nother year. It's a whole nother year. You realize that. And if we don't get on it right away, it'll be another year. And I've been doing this for 8 years, and this is how it always is. So the sooner the better, or we're gonna be
Yeah.
a couple years down the road and nothing's gonna be done. Not a thing.
I hear
So,
your urgency. That's why.
so that's all I'm saying, but I'm one person, I can't do it by myself. I had came tonight with a whole list of 11 things that we could throw up in the air and see
And those
where
could
they
be good
landed.
retreat topics.
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
as we talk
I
about
think so
bigger
too, and
retreat
especially
goals
the ideas that have come forward this week, So
I
Saturday.
know what you're saying as far as the urgency. I get it. I'm just looking at the information
Just
that
being
we're
realistic
going to
of
be.
where we are.
I'm being realistic, and the information and the questions that we have and the data that we're wanting, it's going to be really difficult to try to get that quickly when you've got graduation coming up, you've got testing coming up. It's a lot.
Well, we could do it early June, not July. By July, I mean, school's about to start again. I mean,
Okay,
Like
we do
typically
June.
do it in the first 10 days of June, somewhere in there.
So, well, let me back up. Are we looking at a Thursday night or like we normally do when we do half a day on Saturday?
My suggestion is for where we are and what we need, it's going to be more than 2 hours.
Yeah, same.
We need like a 6-hour. I know before we've done it, we just did. The one time we did it was all day. That was too much. Then we started chunking out maybe just a half a day to start or a full day. That would be my recommendation because I think there's a lot of things we need to get out on the table, suggestions,
I agree.
Ideas, and then from that we would need to brainstorm and prioritize. Like if we brainstorm a bunch of topics, right? I think one of the first things we need to talk about is what are our biggest challenges that we want to tackle as a school board and superintendent? What are the 5 main things that you want to tackle or want me to tackle? And then of that, we can, and then ideas of budget and savings and salaries, and that's one of the challenges. And then what are your ideas for that?
Well, we got the first 2
just
weeks
some
of June.
suggestions.
First 2 weeks of June. What we looking at?
Madam President,
Yes.
I couldn't do the first week. Let me put that out. I have a commitment to come out of a role that entire week, the 1st through the 9th.
The 1st through the 9th.
Yes,
Okay.
I'll be booked, I'll be away that week, so anything after that, I'm good. Yes.
So, you know, also something to consider is that we go to 4-day work weeks in the summer, so it could be a Friday. It could be an all-day
What about June 12th?
Friday.
Or in May, even? When do your 4 days start?
Yeah, they don't start till after.
Just to
Okay.
after
So it
school.
would be
That
after
June
that.
5th.
Kind of that, the 12th would be the first.
June
Okay,
12th will
June
be the
12th.
first Friday.
Let's do it. Let's do it. You
Friday,
can do
June
it, Ms.
12th.
McLean?
I'm echoing you. Yes, let's do
Yes.
it.
All right.
Friday, June 12th.
Does that work for you?
What hours are we, what's the hours?
What day did you say?
Friday, June the 12th.
Okay, I can do that.
I think we originally started at like an 8:30. We had breakfast for you all and that stuff, and we started in here at 8:30. And then, and we
8:30
just-
to,
You tell me. We've done it all day. I think when we did that all day,
8:30
when
to-
everybody was like, we could do a half day. But it's up to you all. I'll be here till however long you want me.
Till the job is done. Whatever we're doing that day.
what about 9 to 2?
I like that, and then we can have lunch brought to us.
Sure.
Because we can work through lunch, too.
9 to 2.
I like that.
9 to 2, June the 12th will be our retreat.
That will be here?
Yes.
We're not gonna go to the beach or somewhere down?
No.
We haven't earned that.
Unfortunately, no.
It'll be,
So we'll get that out, get it
You
get
can
it out
come
to
in
the
your
press. So
swimsuit,
you
though,
get
if you want to.
June the
oh,
12th.
you don't want that.
Did you hear that, Ms. Barker?
Yeah, we'll send it out. I'll have Rhonda send out a,
I'm sorry. What'd she say?
she heard you.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. She got that.
You can
All
too,
right,
Mr.
that
Taylor.
concludes. Thank you all for coming tonight. Appreciate it.